let me start here because I have to defend myself first. I am not an active participant in the fighting game community. I love fighting games. I love to play them. I love to play them with my friends. I buy almost every fighting game that comes out, and I always find a way to have fun with it. One of my favorites would be Arcana Heart 3. So, naturally, I was quite excited to see Street Fighter V coming up, get a release, and I purchased it. And Street Fighter V is a barren skeleton of a game. You don't have a lot of modes. You don't have and I'm going to go with the negative first because there are positives here. You get a very simple story mode that is about 3 to 4 one-round matches against the easiest AI you've ever played. You get some artwork that kind of prologues the story that's to come. That is of questionable quality. Some of it's good, some of it's bad. You can beat that whole thing in about an hour, if that. You get a survival mode that is really actually awesome. Every time you beat a character, survival mode is generally where you have one life bar and you have to see how many opponents you can take down. So the survival mode is really interesting in this one. Depending on the level, you have to last a certain number of characters. In between rounds, you can spend some of your score, so you lose your chance at a high score, but you can get buffs like health or attack up. You also get a simple training mode, but there are no combo lists. And then you get your online. You get the choice of ranked, unranked, and battle lobby. Now, in ranked and unranked, you actually have to go into an options menu and select your favorite character. And you don't get a choice to change your character before your ranked or unranked or casual matches.
What?
If you want to play as a different character, you have to go back into the options and change your favorite character.
Why?
I'm assuming the idea was a misguided attempt at getting players who main characters, which is what most serious players do, to have them skip the also inconvenient 3 button presses it takes to pick your character, pick your color, and go. Because when you play, the game hovers your cursor over the character you last played as. So, I mean, I don't know why.
But what if you want to fuck around and try a different character?
Well, then you get Battle Lounge. Now, Battle Lounge, as you might think, would be a multiplayer lobby of many people that you could play against, right? Well, they're going to fix this in March, but as of right now, your Battle Lounge is one-on-one against one other person. You cannot have more than one person in there.
You mean literally one other person?
Yeah.
It's like a private club with just you and another person.
Right. Now, they're going to change that to have up to 8. But as of right now...
It's a champagne room.
As of right now,
the Street
yes.
Fighter community.
Exactly. Now, at least in this one, you can set it so that you get character select before each round.
Well, thank you for including that.
Yeah.
That heavy. I know it's a heavy laden option to program that.
So, it's barren. And I think they're kind of taking a Splatoon model to this, where Splatoon came out barren. And they dripped the content over the next couple months. And what you ended up with was a fantastically full game. Much like Splatoon, and this is where I'll state the positives, at least with Splatoon, the core gameplay was very good. And in Street Fighter V, the core gameplay, as of right now, in my opinion, is fucking outstanding. All the characters feel good. They all look good. They all play interestingly. Longtime characters like Bison have change-ups made to them. So this is my guess, and then I'm going to let you react. Because I don't necessarily agree with this, but I think I know what Capcom's goal here was. EVO's coming up, and the other big fighting game tournaments are coming up. They have a perfectly ready-to-go engine. They have perfectly ready-to-go characters. They released it in this unfinished form so that players who want to compete competitively can get in there, learn their characters, and compete in the tournaments. And meanwhile, everyone else, by around June, will have something resembling a more complete game, with things starting to drip out in March.
Well, that's when the story mode's supposed to come out in June.
Except for the fact that the story mode actually seems lame. It might take an hour to 2 hours.
But this is the one thing you didn't mention, that there's no fucking arcade mode in this game at this point.
I thought I did. But yes, there's no... I thought that was the first thing I mentioned. Yeah, there's no arcade mode against... There's no just straight run of like 8 characters, best 2 out of 3.
That's insane.
Yes.
That's fucking insane.
Yes, it is.
For not just a Street Fighter game, any fighting game, not to have the most basic mode of all fighting games that have ever come out.
Yep.
It's 2 out of 3 and defeat everyone else in the game.
Don't worry, they're adding it for free in March or April. But
what the fuck? Is that hard to put into the game?
No, it shouldn't have been. I was being sarcastic when I said that. I mean, they are doing it, but still, it's bullshit. So here's my thing. Like, the arcade mode to me is essential because it lets me practice a character in actual best out of 3 matches. The survival mode is a shitload of fun, but they're 1 matches, and you often have a buff or something that's making you stronger. When I want to practice a character, I at least want some sort of intelligence or artificial intelligence behind them so I can practice the combos that I'm discovering or the moves that I'm learning. I think a lot of people are going to say, well, then just use the casual match option online because you don't suffer repercussions for losing a casual match online. So I think I think that's going to be a lot of people's excuses. But here's the deal. When I'm playing against the computer, I don't get as psyched out. I actually get a chance to practice. As soon as you put me with another human, whether anything's on the line or not, I get psyched out. I want to be able to have some time with a computer opponent before I go online and play.
Not just that, but an arcade mode gives you the best opportunity to learn the other characters you're facing because you have to play every single one.
And everyone plays differently.
You might go online and not see someone use a certain character that much, so it may be hard to get used to that versus having a story mode where, all right, adjust the difficulty to hard, and now I got to see how to defend against this character that... So that to me is the most mind-boggling thing out of all that they couldn't put that in.
Sure.
It's an incomplete game. It's an absolutely incomplete game. When I first heard about the story modes being added, I'm like, okay, that's fine. But once you say there's no arcade mode, which to me is a basic tenet of all fighting games, that to me is inexcusable. And they couldn't wait another month to come out with it. I guess they couldn't.
Well, no, they couldn't. I mean, that's the thing. For tournament reasons, they couldn't. So here's the thing. Capcom targeted the tournament audience instead of the casual market. And at this point, I don't know if that was the better idea of the two. I think it probably was for them, despite the outcry, despite the negative backlash against it. The people who are going to be playing in tournaments don't give a fuck about any of the shit we just talked about missing.
Sure, but the market is much more bigger for the casual versus the people that want to compete in tournaments.
Well, I don't know if they looked directly at something like Splatoon or other games, but maybe they looked at the Splatoon model and they said, well, that fucking worked for them.
Yeah, but that's the difference between a third-person shooter adding maps and weapons versus...
There was 5 maps at Splatoon's launch, and like very few weapons in 1 mode. Sure. And I love Splatoon.
Sure.
It was just as barren as Street Fighter V. And people didn't give that one that much shit. So
yeah, but that's like having Splatoon, but not having a multiplayer mode. Like, to me, the arcade mode is like the core component of a fighting game. It's core.
Sure. That said, I mean, to talk about the game itself for a little bit.
Man, is that a turnoff?
I've had nothing but fun playing it against my friends and playing online. The new systems are fantastic. The V-Skill. Every single character has a power unique to their own, which helps against matchups. A lot of them are fun. I play as Bison. I love the fact that Bison can grab Ryu and Ken's fireballs and other people's projectiles and throw them back at him, because that makes for some really interesting matchups.
Overpowered?
No, because against other characters, it's totally fucking useless. And honestly, a good Ryu or Ken player can work their way around it. The V-Trigger mode is great. Which powers up characters, but some it gives them a special move. My biggest thing that I love is they got rid of the fucking Ultra combo, and they brought back basically a simple EX meter. This time I believe it's called the CA meter for the critical arts. And my last parting jab, just real quick. Everyone got all uproar over the lack of the Armika ass slap. The amount of fan service in this game is fucking insane. Cleavage shots, booty shots, this sort of thing. I mean, all of that stuff. I just think it's weird that that's the one thing to complain about, and I think it's odd to think that Capcom thought that that's where they needed to draw the line. I mean, maybe there's been a statement by Capcom that I didn't see, but in a game that has some characters that are sexualized, I mean, you can barely see Cammy's thong at this point. It's basically just disappeared into her ass. I just don't understand why an ass slap would have been something to please the SJWs in the U.S.
All right. I'm going to become a pro Street Fighter 5 player to show you, Ian, it can be done. Even someone in their 30s could do it, just like that pitcher that started pitching for the Tigers when he was 40. That was a movie. Remember that?
My bison is strong for a completely low-rank player.
Okay, well, I'll start playing. I'll buy a PlayStation 4 and I'll get it.
Shut up. No, you won't.
And then I'll come over and beat you 30 times in a row.